Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday Wisdom Call, happening every Wednesday at 9 o'clock. All the calls are recorded and can be found on the website, helloextraordinarylife.com, or on the Facebook closed group page, also on the business page, Hello Extraordinary Life. Many places to find the recordings, and there are almost 100 now. So I've reached the point of speaking with my coach. It's been 2 years I've been doing these calls, and I'm ready to do something different, just a different format. So stay tuned for that. It'll be in July after our 2-week trip. We have a 2-week trip in June. So when I come back, I'll be changing that. And I'm kind of excited about it. Today we're talking about sacrifice. Holy cow, it's a big word. I decided to look up the meaning of it, and it was interesting. The first thing I find is about offering an animal to sacrifice for your spiritual things. I'm like, that's not the kind of sacrifice I'm talking about. Although it might feel like that sometimes. And then I found something else. It says a sacrifice is a loss or something you give up, usually for the sake of a better cause. And the example is parents sacrifice time and sleep to take care of their children. And so just that, what's the bigger purpose that we give up something? We say no to one thing so we can say yes to another thing. And that's true of life, if you want to call it a sacrifice. Specifically, I'm talking today about the sacrifices. It started with Memorial Day, and the sacrifices that our men and women have, their ultimate physical life sacrifice that they gave. Whether Memorial Day is about those that have died, but they really signed their life to protect ours here in the United States, and it doesn't matter the cost. They've signed up for that. And it's often what we do on our personal journey when we decide and we choose that we're here. We've signed up for some greater purpose than maybe what we've been doing. And we don't always physically die, although I've seen people that will sacrifice their fear of changing or doing something different for their life. They get sick and they die from that because they just won't do anything different. Whether it be about changing your eating habits, to your beliefs, to your smoking habits, exercise habits, whatever those are, to be healthier. Sometimes we're not even willing to do that. And so in essence, we are dying. We sacrifice one for another. I'm using a little extreme examples because it takes something for us when we're on this journey of learning how to love ourselves from the inside out. It takes a commitment, and it takes something, and it takes giving up something so that we can learn better ways to treat ourselves and better ways to care for ourselves emotionally. And then usually when we do one, it leads to the other, So whether it's you start with your emotional state or your spiritual state or your physical state, it usually will lead to another, as long as we're not trying to do a bypass. So for years, I did like a spiritual bypass. If I just do my spiritual work, all the rest will take care of itself. Well, that didn't work. So it was a cost. I sacrificed my emotional well-being, trying to be all big and spiritual. And I did. I got sick, physically ill, because I wouldn't deal with my emotions. Because I thought, if I just do the spiritual stuff, just do all the spiritual stuff, just do all the right things, but I'm not handling the emotions. So I'm sacrificing something in some way. It's what we all do when we're not willing to do that, like the whole picture of our health. That 3-legged stool, we only have one leg standing or 2 legs standing, it doesn't balance very well. So emotional, physical, and spiritual. Finding that place of, how do we balance that? People talk about balance. I don't know if there's such a thing, truly. It's learning how to navigate. Learning how to navigate those waters of any one of them as life presents itself. And looking at, what am I giving up? What's the thing I'm giving up so that I can be better to myself, better to my parents, better to my siblings, better to my life? I've said it repeatedly. I'm going to say it again. I cannot love you. You cannot love me more than you love yourself. And I won't let you love me more than I love myself. Always starts with us. No matter how much we do and how much we give and how much service we do, if we're not taking care of ourselves and our emotional state and our spiritual state and our physical state, then we're sacrificing something, and we may not even know it. So what are you willing to sacrifice? I'm not a fan of the word, but I used it in the context with Memorial Day, and I thought, we do in some way, in the context of we're giving up something for something greater, something that's not working, something in my life, like emotionally. I'm talking about when we're emotionally, our behaviors are no longer serving us. Are we willing to give those up for something that is going to be more effective? Are we willing to give up our belief system for something that makes us feel better? Are we willing to serve humanity for the greater good? Because that is fulfilling for us. In all those places, there's something that we say no to and something that we say yes to. And in that context, we're sacrificing something for a greater cause. And I think of ourselves, we're sacrificing those ways that we've been our whole life, ways that we learn, we've been programmed to learn new ways and to figure out other ways that serve our life in a greater good. Because the more we love ourselves, the better we treat ourselves, and the better we are in the world. When we honor ourselves, we honor others. I may be honoring to other people, but if I'm not honoring to me, I'll just look good on the outside. And I know how to do that well. So it's that journey. It's that journey, and it's if we don't know how to go inside, or we don't know how to travel the road inside, because we only know what we know, and we have all these blind spots, we don't even know we have blind spots, or we ask for help. Or we ask someone else to help us see what we can't see about ourselves. It's not comfortable. That's not a comfortable place to be. I promise. I've asked people when I was in a leadership role, hey, what is it about how I lead that works for you or doesn't work for you? And I said, I promise I'll take it as information only. And it wasn't comfortable to get another's view because they're coming from their own perspective. But there were things that I got to take a look at about myself when they gave me the feedback. Because there are things I cannot see about myself. And then I get to determine, is it working? Is it something that I ought to consider looking at and doing different? Or is it something I love about my leadership style that maybe somebody else doesn't because they lead differently? Right? I get to just take a look and then decide if I'm willing to sacrifice something that maybe isn't working. Maybe all of them have said the same thing. They all say the same thing. I better be taking a look. If you keep hearing the same message over and over from people, probably ought to take a look. Because it's something that they're seeing that when we're not willing to look, we're just not willing to look. And if we're denying it really loudly and we're defending our position really loudly, we ought to take a look and take a look at what is the thing that's not working that I can't quite see yet, and what am I willing to do about it? What am I willing to shift in myself? What am I willing to sacrifice about myself so I can be different? Am I willing to sacrifice my comfort level, my ego, and my egoic way of being because it's familiar? Am I willing? Am I willing to just take those steps? That's probably the key question I'm hearing myself say through this whole thing is, am I willing? Are you willing It's not about me, but are you willing to look? And are you willing to sacrifice something that's no longer serving and give up the comfort of that and the familiarity of that to do something else until that becomes the new familiar? I see people live in such deep fear, they just do nothing. This is how I am, and this is who I am, and this is just the way it is. Great. There's no place for us to go together, because that's where they want to be. And that's okay. That's not, that's not my journey. Not your journey, obviously, if you're here listening to this. So it's that place of being willing, and are we willing to sacrifice our comfort and our familiar place to do something different? Even if we don't like it, are we willing to at least try it out, test drive it? Let's test drive it and see if it works. And if it works better, let's take it on. We can always give it back. I've heard before, but you will gladly refund your misery if you don't want to do the work or the transformation or the whatever it is. You can always take it back. But if you find that what the new way of being and the new way of doing something is working better, then it's probably worth the sacrifice to take on a new behavior and a new belief. And it's worth the discomfort, although we can't really know that until we actually do it. I mean, that's kind of the paradox of it all. I want to know what it's like over there because I know it's really good, but I don't want to go through the pain to get there. I just want to have the result. Not a lot to. Let me bypass all the going through the hard stuff and be over there already. Yeah, that never worked. It requires something. It requires us, and that's part of this journey of being human. That's what we're here to do. Step into our greatest version of ourselves in every moment of every day. And sometimes that requires us to give up something else, hence the context of sacrifice. Yeah, I think I'll be done right there. You're short, sweet, and to the point. Comments, questions?
I just looking back at the journey you and I have been on for years now, and the different sacrifices we've had to step up to, even when we didn't want to.
Right. But we did it.
But it sure pays off. Yeah, me and you have come a long frickin' way, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's true. In any relationship, if it's worth growing together, there's sometimes pain and sacrifice involved about how we dance together. Yes. And it is good. And it's worth it.
Yeah, it's worth it. But it gets uncomfortable sometimes, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
No pain, no gain, right?
It is how we see it, yes. No pain, no gain. And it's absolutely that being willing to be uncomfortable, like sacrificing, that's what I was talking about, sacrificing your comfortability, your familiarity, and being willing to be uncomfortable. That's what it takes, and it is worth it, but we can't see it until we've done it. That's the catch. No one's going to tell me how it's going to be, and pardon me?
You got to become aware of all the hints the universe keeps throwing at you. So.
Yeah, and they're everywhere.
Yep.
Yep, when we're willing to look, they are everywhere. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.